Sound speeds, and I ask you, what makes a microphone a professional microphone? Is it a price tag of, let's say, $1,000 or more? Is it a certain set of features only available in certain professional microphones? Or perhaps it's only being sold in those exclusive sound shops that only professionals have access to? Well, let's take them one at a time. If all it took was a price tag of at least $1,000 to be considered a professional microphone, then you'd find that a lot of sound manufacturers would price their microphones higher. But if there's one thing I've learned from the Mass Mic series, it is that price does not indicate quality, and a lot of inexpensive microphones sound better than more expensive microphones, so that can't be it. How about a certain feature set? Well, most non-deep discount microphones have similar specifications and features, so that can't be it. So what about only being sold in those secret professional sound shops that only us pros have access to? Well, let me tell you this, there is no such thing. They will sell to you just like they will me. All you have to do is call them up or go to their website and buy something. And as for only being sold there, well, the MKH416 by Sennheiser is considered the workhorse of the professional sound industry, and that is sold on Amazon, so that can't be it. As a side note, professional sound vendors also sell non-sound related items like moleskin that we use for attaching wireless microphones to skin or clothing, and even unlubricated condoms that we use for keeping wireless microphones dry in the rain. So then what does it take to be considered a professional microphone? How about being used by a professional in a professional environment? And what does it take to be chosen for such an honor? Well, it's got to sound good and have a certain feature set that is desirable by a pro. That said, allow me to introduce you to the Deity S-mic 2. What about the 1? Well, Deity's parent company is Aperture, the maker of professional lighting and camera accessories, and they released the Aperture Deity microphone. And based on the popularity of that microphone, they decided after a couple of years to create the Deity line for professional sound products. And the S-mic 2 is the first short shotgun microphone following the Aperture Deity in that professional microphone line. At the time of this video, the Deity S-mic 2 has a price tag of $359 US. And full disclosure, Deity did send this microphone to me in exchange for a fair review. I get to keep it, and I'm really happy about that. Enough delay, get to it already. Well, okay. Inside of this waterproof carrying case is the specification and warranty information, a windscreen, a clip, and of course you gotta have your microphone. There are many microphone comparison videos all over the internet comparing the S-mic 2 to microphones like the DPA-4017B, the Sennheiser MKH416, and other microphones in the same price point like the Rode NTG4 Plus. So I'm not going to do that in this video. You could easily watch any of those. What I am going to do is extensively test this microphone and report on it for its merits alone. But yes, I will discuss this microphone and discuss a few of its features before we get to any kind of testing. Well, I guess you could say I'm already kind of doing a voiceover test for you. But listen up, because this microphone is made entirely of brass, and while that may sound heavy, please note, this microphone is almost impervious to RF. I mean, RF isn't going to get through this thing because it's made of basically the same material as a Faraday cage. There are specifications and features all over the screen, but I do want to point out one of those specifications that's quite impressive. This microphone has a noise floor of 12 dBA, and that is actually quite low for a shotgun microphone. It's even lower than the Sennheiser MKH416. The S-mic 2 also has a, you know what? Any review site could talk about the specifications and features on this microphone. So why don't I just put a link up there for you to look at it and research it yourself if you want to read about it more. And let's get to the field test, because most review channels only do like 1 or 2 tests of the microphone and then give you their thoughts. I'm going to do a bunch. Let's get to it. We're currently shooting exterior in the fall, autumn. That means that there's going to be a lot of dead leaves out and people using leaf blowers trying to clear their yards. And that's exactly what's going on. Currently in that direction, maybe about 200 feet, there is a person leaf blowing out their yard. Now, in addition to that, there is a working bank behind me. And on the other side of the bank, there is a big road with a lot of traffic on it. There's occasionally an airplane that goes overhead too, so that explains a little bit of the background noises you may be hearing. The microphone is currently about 18 inches in front of my mouth, about 30 degrees off axis and about eye level. Kind of the way it would be if you were getting close, but not exactly perfect, where it would be if you were maybe shooting over someone doing ENG work. Now let's say we're shooting ENG style, that's electronic news gathering for short, and the camera would be there and the microphone maybe right over top of the camera, maybe a little bit in front of it, trying to get the voice of the person that you're interviewing. And that's kind of the situation we have right now. The microphone is currently about 2.5 feet away from me and in front of me at about a 45-degree angle pointed straight at my mouth. And the reason I'm using it on a boom that I'm controlling is because I want to know that it's pointed right at my mouth. And I can make sure that happens. I'm a boom op. Currently, the microphone is about 4 feet away from me, even though it doesn't look it. See? and I can't get anywhere near that microphone when I try to touch it. Now, the reason I'm doing it this way right now is because this is kind of showing what it would be like if the microphone is kind of over the top of a DSLR camera and you're shooting ENG style. And I wish that guy with the leaf blower would go away. Yes, I know, the boom pole itself is in the shot. And that's fine. It's by design, as a matter of fact. The microphone is currently directly at the top of my head, right here in the sweet spot where it would be if I wanted to speak into this microphone. This gives you an idea of how well it can pick my voice up at pretty close range directly on top of me. At this range, on a short shotgun microphone that is a super cardioid pattern, you're probably going to be picking up some low end, or rather some proximity effect on this microphone. And that's completely fine because of the style of microphone and the distance I am off of the mic. But how is my voice coming through? It should be cutting through all of this background noise at this distance. Now let's back up a little bit and see how it does a little farther away. Now the microphone is about 12 inches over top of my head, and it's still directly on axis to my mouth. And because it's a little farther away, you're not getting as much of that proximity effect as you were before. And you're still catching a little bit of the guy with the leaf blower in the background, but that's to be expected. We're doing exteriors and he's pretty close. Go away, dude! Currently, the Deity S-mic 2 is about 18 inches over the top of my head. I can barely touch the microphone with my hand if I wanted to, but who would do such a crazy thing? I'm already dealing with enough noise in the background with our leaf blower friend back there, and now there's a guy about 150 feet that direction talking on his cell phone, walking this way. A plane is coming in also, and I don't know if you can hear the chipmunks, or rather squirrels and birds chattering around me. It's starting to wake up here. Currently, the S-mic 2 is about 2 feet over the top of my head. I can't touch it if I stretch and really reach for it. There's also an airplane overhead, and our friend with the leaf blower is not currently there. Maybe he's gone away. Go to lunch or something, dude. But then there's the airplane. But at least it'll be gone here in a moment. Currently, the S-mic 2 is about 3 feet over the top of my head, and currently that's about the edge of the range I would want to use in such a noisy environment like I'm currently in. There's no longer an airplane, the guy with the cell phone is kind of far away, and the guy with the leaf blower is still over there, but probably he's gone around the side yard of whatever house he's working on. So there's not a whole lot of competing sounds right now, but there are some, and this is how my voice sounds on this microphone right there. Now, the reason I said you really don't want to go farther away with the S-mic 2 is that it starts to sound a little distant at about this distance, which is only about 4 feet off the mic. Hold it right there for a second. One of the disadvantages of using over-ear headphones like these in a noisy environment when doing field recording is that the sounds outside have a tendency of leaking, or rather bleeding, through your headphones and messing with your ability to listen to your mix. At this time, I thought that was the edge of the range on the S-mic 2, but I was pleasantly surprised, let's say, when I got back into the editing suite. And I'm going to let you call it from here on out, and you tell me, what point do you think the microphone loses its effectiveness out on location? You're going to probably hear a little bit more of the background noise and much more air on my voice than you would really want. And this is just at 4 feet. 5 feet over the top of your head, in this kind of a noisy environment, you can practically kiss your dialogue goodbye. It's still up there and might be able to dig it out a little bit in post, but why should you want to? Get the microphone closer, geez. At 6 feet overhead, the S-mic 2 isn't pulling out my voice very well anymore. It's more just grabbing the ambience of everything around me, and in all honesty, the guy with the leaf blower is really overpowering at this distance. So if you want to get good audio, lower the microphone closer, and I'd say keep it within about 3 feet. But let's be silly and go even higher with it. Now that the microphone is about 8 feet over the top of my head, you can pretty much kiss my dialogue goodbye. But your post guy's got to eat too, and he's got to afford things like Isotope RX, so you might as well just keep on going up vertically, right? Now that this ambient QS boom pole has extended the S-mic 2 all the way up about 12 to 13 feet over the top of my head, which is the end of the pole, I hope I'm still getting any kind of audio level that's usable and you're able to make up my voice at all. One of the joys of booming from underneath is hearing all the airplanes fly within your microphone pattern directly above you. But in this case, the guy with the leaf blower is still my main culprit out here. But you know what, dude? This microphone is about 2 feet away from me, and this is my final test. So for all I care, you can stay out there all day and blow the same leaves around. Go for it. Now that we're done with our test, I'm going to add a few things. And for this, the microphone is going to be right at the top of my head and in front of my mouth, where I hope to hear it forevermore. I've been recording this with a Tascam DR40, and I know you boom operators out there have been saying, why has he been holding the boom up on the same side as the sun? That's not the way you do it. You're right, but when you prioritize sound, why not? Personally, I was quite impressed with those results. As a matter of fact, I think that the microphone did really well, even at some of the higher heights I went to. I didn't expect that kind of sound to come out of something that was a short shotgun microphone, let's say. You think we're done with the testing? No, let's do another one. Now for one of the more rare S-mic 2 tests that you'll probably find here on YouTube. Currently, I'm recording in one of the least sound-friendly environments imaginable. You may recognize it as a shower. And the reason I'm here is because I'm looking for water but don't want to stand outside in freezing temperatures to get it. Now, the reason I'm here is because DC bias microphones are typically those that you want to keep away from all kinds of moisture. Definitely the rain. Even light humidity can make it garble and kind of make some artifacts in the sound and render it even completely useless until it dries out. But an RF bias microphone is one that's a little more resilient to moisture. So which one is this? It's actually a DC bias microphone, but I'm not scared of being in the shower with it because the circuit board on it is epoxy sealed. So because of that, it should technically resist water. Now I did wrap up the XLR connector in electrical tape because I'm out of rescue tape right now. And because of that, I'm hoping that it will be resilient to water. And I should have preheated this thing before I turned it on, but we're going to go ahead and turn it on and see what happens. I did cut for a second to preheat the water, but maybe not for the reason you think. You might be thinking comfort, right? Well, partially, but the real reason is because I wanted to generate some steam. That's why the water is actually up in full heat mode. I wanted to get some steam happening, and I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but it definitely is creating some steam right now. And the reason why is because that counts as humidity. Humidity in the air is going to supposedly shut off a DC bias microphone, but the epoxy seal on this is hopefully going to help it resist. Now, just to make my point even further, I'm going to go for broke here and do this kind of thing right here with the microphone. This is actually the worst possible condition. Actually, you know what? You can't hear me properly because of the wind protection. So I'm going to do that instead. Maybe you can hear this better, and maybe you can hear this. Okay, you can't actually hear anything. You can't actually hear anything with that wind protection off. So I am going to do this after all. And typically this is bad. You would want to put in some sort of a Zeppelin with maybe wind protection, but that's not really what I'm doing here. I'm going for broke and letting it just get all kinds of noise here. Hopefully you can still hear me right now over all of this noise, and I'm sorry. But I'm doing this for a reason, to show you this thing is still working right now, despite the fact that it is getting directly hit with rain. Okay, let's do it again. That's not a good sign. But you know what? It's still working. It's still working. Now let's see what happens when we dry it out a bit. To reduce the punishment done to this microphone, I'm going to stick it in some distilled water before drying it. That way, hopefully, some of the minerals will get off of the inside of the interference tube and it won't be causing any kind of permanent damage. But how do you dry a microphone? Do you let it drip dry? Or do you put it inside of a plastic bag with a portable dehumidifier? Or maybe wrap it up in a sock and then throw it in your dryer? The thudding you're hearing behind me is the microphone in the dryer. And because it's so late at night, I don't know how much longer my wife is going to let me get away with this while the kids are trying to sleep. So just as I thought, I've been made to stop because it was making way too much noise. It looks like the microphone has come out of the sock, so let me see if I can secure it a better way. The S-mic 2 was only in my dryer for 10 or 15 minutes on medium heat before I was compelled, let's say, to remove it from the dryer early. And it's been like this ever since. Now, I would like to add this. My wife is more concerned about the microphone damaging the dryer than I was concerned about the dryer damaging my microphone. And I have not heard this yet, and we're about to listen to it live. I'm actually going to break it open, and we're going to see how this microphone sounds right here, if I can get into it. Well, I'm getting into it very slowly and probably damaging the sock, which I did just damage the sock in the meantime. So let's see what we have on the inside. Okay, it's not dripping water anymore, which is a great sign. Let's plug it up and hear how it sounds. Right here, I'm speaking into this microphone. You tell me, did it survive or not? You may be wondering if that is indeed the same microphone I used in the test, and I can attest that it is. I promise that, as a matter of fact. But just so it's been said, I do have a second S-mic too, should it have failed this test, which I did inform the manufacturer I was planning on doing. But it did not fail. It survived with flying colors. So let me add this. I'm going to now do a stereo microphone test, which normally you would only use an omnidirectional microphone or maybe even a cardioid pattern microphone, depending on how you do it, to do a stereo recording. But just for fun and to showcase that this microphone and this microphone both work, why don't we do a stereo recording someplace at, let's say, a park and see how that turns out. So what did you think of the tests with the S-mic 2? Well, I'll be honest with you. The stereo test was quite impressive. You normally wouldn't use supercardioid pattern microphones in that kind of a circumstance, but I thought it pulled out the kids on the right and the ducks on the left quite effectively without much bleed between the two of them. But how about the other tests? Well, the rain really impressed me, as did the way that it pulled out the sound even at a higher distance. So do I recommend this microphone? Oh yeah, I give it 2 big thumbs up, and I strongly recommend you checking it out. There are links down in the description, and I really think you're going to see this microphone quite a bit more on my channel. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Sound Speeds, and be sure to tune in the future for more product reviews and sound advice. Have a question you'd like answered or want to add something? Be sure to write it in the comment section down below. You can also make a suggestion for future topics of discussion. Again, comment section down below, or you can email me at soundspeeds@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future sound advice.